Well, it's 8:15. Yeah, let's call the meeting to order. We'll begin with a rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin with approval of the agenda for August 25th today.
We have one addition to the agenda this morning we would like to have. Under new business, it will be item Edward. No. And it is the apprenticeship utilization requirement waiver. And we have a resolution that will bring for you.
Okay, I see. As a here.
Yes.
The table.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, do we have a motion
I
to
move
amend the
to
agenda
yes, I move to approve the amended agenda.
with item E and new business?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, next approval of consent agenda minutes for August 11th and claims for today. Any comments?
I had no questions or comments.
I was just curious about the change order report, but I don't know what the right place to talk about that is.
Here.
Yeah.
It's not really part of the claims, but I just want to bring something, I ask a question about that.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just noticed that there's a lot of change orders and that's sent in the change order report. And my question is, I just wanted to understand if there's why all of a sudden a bunch of change orders.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Is Annette here to answer that perhaps?
I am here. This is something, I apologize. This fell off our radar for a number of months and we just picked it up. So this is actually I'm trying to get to it right now. The last time we did it was in April. So we were doing a bunch of catch up. So this is actually, several months worth of activity that you're seeing all at once.
Are the change orders connected? Are they in response to our emergency project or?
No, this was as of July 31st. So this hasn't even started on that. So it looks like there was some plant 2 windows. There was a couple little change ordered there. There was a couple change orders on the Northgate potable gravel and fence. And then at the bottom, there was 3 change orders when we were doing PVC in plant 2 basin. And all 3 of those projects are now complete.
Okay, and I just so that they're all relatively minor change orders, of course. I just was curious about them and see if there's any pattern to that. And it sounds like there's really no pattern. It just happened to happen in the last few months.
Yeah, and like I said, we're doing a catch up for several months, so all of a sudden you're seeing it all at once.
Thank you for that clarification. I didn't have any issues. I just wanted to understand it better.
Yeah, you'll start seeing the big projects and the change orders coming soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have no further questions.
Well, then I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll
Second?
second that.
Either one. All in favor?
Aye.
I suppose now we have to move into executive session for, do we estimate 45 minutes?
Let's see, do we have a time here?
That is the estimate.
Yeah.
Okay, so to discuss with legal counsel pending or potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4231-10-1I, we will move into a closed door executive session and resume the public meeting at 9:05. 9:05. We'll see you all shortly. We are back in our open public meeting and we'll continue with general manager report. Right.
I'm gonna give a report on our unit line project. And this is to tell you kind of where we've been and where we are and where we're looking, what we can go to. The unit line project is a project to replace the Douglas line. The Douglas Road line is it's an aging line. It's put in the 1960s. It's high pressure. We've noticed there was a leaking on it. Give you an idea of why this is an issue. It runs through the ball fields south of Ferndale. There's a City of Ferndale baseball field. There's 4 of them, and we actually run through the ball fields as part of the pathway. And then as it runs west, we run through kind of an easement in the back of a newer housing development. This line was put in the 60s, but the housing development went in the 2000s, 2010. So even though the pipe was already there, the homes are not built on top of it. I don't want to say that, which they're not, but their backyards, their backyards have been fenced as part of that line. So we basically there's a public safety risk. There's a fenceling line near the backyards of homes and public ball fields. So that creates an unacceptable exposure if there was to be a rupture. We were gonna do a line stop and put a new valve in and shut off the section and do some repairs, but when we dug up the pipe and exposed it, we found that there was multiple joints that were really about to fail. The contractor was not really interested in cutting into an Asian pipe in the condition it was. So we've had to really pivot from there to change our thinking. So we started with a line stop. You can see there's some photos there, and maybe not be very big on the screen for you, but there's lots. You can see there's lots of rust at the couplings. We exposed 13 joints over 500 feet, and 11 were showing serious deterioration. So we're considering an emergency replacement route, which would leave our plant 1 and head west, just like Douglas Road, but it would be on a path slightly south. I have some closer in sections, and we're breaking it up into 3 sections so we can work on all 3 sections concurrently with different contractors, and we're looking at about a 6-mile pathway. We have 3 parallel work fronts. We have the west end, which is the industrial portion. We have the middle, which has a lot of wetlands and creeks that we need to deal with. And then the east portion is where the plant 1 is, and that would be where we have to tie in for the new line. We've already got piping. It's HDPE pipe. We've got pipe en route, and we have a welding teams already worked out for that as well. We've got laydown yards that are being built for the piping and for the welding areas, and we're looking to mobilize crews out into the right of way in the first week of September. So the west industrial end, that's where you'll see there's the old Intelco plant and the active Phillips 66 plant, and that's Unit Road. We have on the north portion of that purple, we have our existing intertie building, which ties our north and south plants together. The north plant being this one we're at here, plant 2, and then the south plant, plant 1. And this section is approximately 11,500 linear feet. So that's a little over 2 miles of line that we'll be putting in. So that's going to be, there's going to be, obviously there's a working oil refinery right there. So we're going to have to maintain traffic for that facility, crew traffic, staff traffic, as well as product traffic and anything else. So we're going to have to maintain that flow. The middle section, as we're calling the creek corridor, this section is actually just in the last probably 72 hours we've shifted. It's not going to go straight through as it's showing. You can see the purple and the pink on the outside ends. We're going to drop down to Lampman Road and stay completely in the road right of ways. That middle portion there was going to be private property and easements, but The kind of the main problem there is we were going to be doing underground boring, and with all the wetlands and everything else, the bores were gonna just be too incredibly long for such a big pipe. So we've adjusted our path, and we're gonna go down Lampman and stay in the road right away and construct it in the same methodology as the east and west portions. And then the east area, the plant one interface, this portion is actually going to be it's in the city of Ferndale. The mayor just declared an emergency proclamation yesterday in support of this project. So we're working with the city of Ferndale. We have a meeting with them later this afternoon to work through some of these issues. So this will be in the road right of ways. Well, half of it's going to be in the road right away. Part of it's going to leave our plant. The plan currently is to leave our plant and head west through the city of Ferndale property until it gets to Impop Road. And that portion there is, I'm going to step back one slide. The middle portion is about 9,500 linear feet, just under 2 miles, and then the east portion is 8,000. So we're all told, I think it's around 28,000 feet. So. And we're still working on all the plan and profile and all the surveying. That's still actively being done. And none of that is complete. All these work fronts are working at the same time. So here's our schedule path. So now emergency package, agency team. Weeks 1 to 2, survey, aerial mapping, potholing, environmental delineation, help me find it. So right now we're kind of in weeks 3 and 4. We're still working on solidifying our work packages, our right of ways and material. Fusion machines are supposed to be showing up either late this week or early next week. And the idea being that civil mobilization. Actually, so the first week is, I don't really know how we have that broken down in dates, but September 8th, which I believe is the day after Labor Day, the Tuesday, that's when we're looking to start breaking ground in the right of ways. And so then start placing pipe in those sections, and then October through November, placing pipe in all these sections, and then working on testings and tie-ins and activation as we move into late October into November. So this is always a big page for a lot of people. The budget page. Right now our base budget is 48.3 million with a low range of 41.5 and high of 51.8. So we're again, this is something that we're still locking down due to the fact that we're working all these kind of concurrent areas at the same time. And this is a planning range. Things will tighten up as we move. Another big part is going to be permitting, environmental controls, property status. This is not quite. I mean, it's important for all the people who are going to be affected by it, but it's not. We're not trying to run pipeline through private property at this point. So that's a little bit more of a factor. So agency coordination. Our engineering manager is actually at a meeting with the county right now to work through things like traffic plans, work schedules, permitting, all the other issues that the Whatcom County is going to want us to work on as we do this work. Also reaching out to the Army Corps, Fish and Game, City of Ferndale, the tribes. Reaching out to all these different stakeholders. We want to point out that this is not just because it's an emergency, it doesn't mean it's a permit-free situation. We are starting the permit process. We figure the permit's going to be working as the construction is working. And the idea being that all permits that would have been required for any similar project on a different timeline will also be expected to be delivered as well. So then some of our next decision kind of thinking about is so confirm the emergency posture just like I said, Mayor of Ferndale just did his own proclamation just yesterday in support of the project. We need to work with our permitting agencies and try and keep them as informed as best as we can as we kind of as we run through this. We're working on protecting the schedule. Permitting is always an issue, even though we're trying to move through that. But materials and construction is going to be a big part of it. The traffic plans that we're working on now is going to be a big part of making sure that the general public has access to where they need to get to as we try and get this work done. Cost controls, we're gonna have to have someone keeping track of the just the daily, weekly costs as we move through this and keep it tallied and not let that get away from us. And then keep public communication active, keep the website updated, keep reaching out to the city and county and outside of the permitting authorities, and keep everybody informed of what's going on. Again, bottom line being replacing the Douglas Road transmission, replacing the Douglas transmission risk before we have a failure is the safest path for the public responders, PUD staff, and the overall system. Sorry if I talked too fast there. Be happy to look at any of the slides or answer any questions you have.
I do want to add a couple of things. Sure. The decision to do the Lampman route that avoids wetlands and going through personal property, but it also saved a great deal of cost. So all three things came together in that particular decision. I think Garrett was telling me we probably saved about $10 million.
Really? Because it's significantly more line, isn't it?
Well, the cost of the pipe is far less than the boring and the
Before, I mentioned there's a lot of wetlands, so we have to have some really low.
Yeah. So I think that was the right call for more than one reason. But just want to point that out, and really good job to Kurt and Garrett for coming to that. And we made that decision on Sunday. Lisa's working very closely with Garrett. Garrett's working with the county for the traffic control plans. And so that should all be getting funneled to Lisa to put on our website. And so the community, our industrial partners, everybody should have a good awareness of whatever the currently approved traffic control plan is, because it's going to impact both residents along here and people trying to get to work right out at Cherry Point. So we got to be closely tied into everybody. And the easiest way to do that is funnel it through our communications and post it on our website. Everybody can go there and just see it whenever they need to get to it, kind of like WashDOT. Yesterday we had a meeting with the general public and to talk about the unit line. And I think the largest concern that we saw there during the meeting yesterday was people not knowing what the current activity was. They're seeing the pipes being brought in and set down, and they just didn't know what was going on. So that was explained. And then Garrett covered the general project with a lot of our residents. And there seemed to be general support from the people that were impacted by the unit line. And they understood how the road control was going to go, how they're going to get to their properties. And then tomorrow we have the public meeting with folks about the Douglas line. So anything else to add there, Lisa?
No, I think the only other thing would be that we're also working closely with the school district to make sure that any impacts that we're having on their transportation routes are being clearly communicated to them, because they will be starting schools next week as well, right when we're starting.
Glad we're in communication.
Yeah.
Certainly traffic is going to have an impact, but can be managed. So let's start. Let's go to questions, and then we'll get into discussion as necessary. Jamie.
Sure. So how we have 60 to 90 days for that in the entirety of the project, and we think that's a pretty good estimation.
I think that's a very impressive estimation, but yeah, I
Okay.
think with the 3 different work zones, that's something we can achieve.
Okay. And so these are really two different projects, I guess. So that's why we have two different meetings. You've got the UNIC line and then you've got the Douglas line. Will we have a presentation on the Douglas line, or is that something that'll come next?
Well, right now, we're focusing on the unit line.
Okay.
Developing a pathway for that. We're still working on kind of the Douglas plan.
We're not sure what to do with Douglas.
Not quite yet, yeah.
Yeah, we could do something for like a 10-year fix
Uh-huh.
and pipe burst the inside of the pipe, coat the inside of the pipe. Maybe that would work.
But it's a temporary fix.
Yeah, but-
cool.
Or we could put smaller pipe through the Douglas line and use the Douglas line existing as kind of like conduit for
Mhm.
smaller pipe. Or we tear it all out and put in new pipe.
But then we're looking at another $60 million project, right?
Oh, it'll be more than that. Right. And so
Yeah, we're still developing.
That's what our big
So
money. Yeah.
there's a lot of options on the table. But we have not ascertained exactly what path we want to move on. Atul?
No, I've got no comments. There's a lot of questions and that are brewing in my head, but nothing to
Okay,
say specifically about this.
well, get more.
I don't have anything else. I do want to thank the staff for working so hard on this. I mean, none of us expected to be in a position like this in a state of emergency. This was surprising. And I know, you said you just got information on Sunday, so it sounds like we're working around the clock to make this happen. So thanks.
I guess I do have one question is about the stabilization work. Is there any question about the effectiveness of stabilization work and the essentialness of it? And is there a relative priority of stabilization versus new line construction? Is there no conflict of resources and resourcing? How are you managing the two parallel projects? And I guess there's really two projects. There's plant one rebuild, there's line stabilization, and there's new line construction. How are you managing all of that work, Tony? Do you sleep?
Well, first, I got to give credit to Garrett and Kurt.
Does Garrett sleep?
No,
Sure.
but I don't think there's a conflict. We already have, roughly 500 feet of Douglas open. So there's already access to it. I don't think any work associated with the stabilization, and I could let Kurt describe what that is. But I don't think that there's a conflict with getting that work done, the stabilization work and the preparatory work that's been going on, because we haven't even broken ground yet, right? For the unit line replacement that we're talking about. So I think these two things.
Stabilization will be done first. Stabilization will be done first.
Stabilization.
Concurrently with what we're doing.
Stabilization at this point is done.
It's done,
Of what
yeah.
we can do.
Oh, okay, it's already done. Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was worried about competing resources, but it sounds like they're not.
They're moving fast.
So one thing to point out for the Douglas line, going back to that, remember that some of that line goes underneath the backyards of homes, and these backyards are no bigger than this room. So that line's, it's not under the house, but it's pretty close to those homes.
Yeah.
And I think we're talking about 8 homes ish.
Eight or 10.
Yeah. But nonetheless, those are people. And so we will have to deal with that with whatever we're doing with the Douglas line. Right.
if we want to replace it, that means some painful, discussions with residents about getting into and using in our easement, right, in those yards. So we're just gonna have to deal with all that, and whatever the outcome is, we have to keep people in mind too.
Just for the sake of the conversation, largely, because I had mentioned that, none of us were expecting this, that we are planning to work on an asset management plan in the future so that we don't run into these types of issues.
We are working on an asset management plan now,
Great,
right? We're not gonna wait
Yeah.
till the future.
thank you.
Yeah, in my tenure, we're gonna do this.
Great.
Well, I guess just to start thanking staff for working so hard and moving so quickly on this since the leak sprang up and first came to our attention. And this emergency line rebuild, yeah, right, will be one step in a larger sequence of system improvements to maintain long-term reliability and resiliency, right? But it's clear that we really can't kick the can down the road to move and act here for the sake of really just public safety, number one. The risk, the risk from the system continuing as it is without this, we can't let that go on longer. So we need to move expeditiously. This is an ambitious timeline, and this is certainly a large scale project that we're undertaking. But I think we're all in concurrence there that this is a justified state of emergency. So I know we have a few other action items accordingly that are later on the agenda that we'll get to related to emergency action. What else would be helpful from the commission today?
Well, we have a couple action items.
Yeah, they're on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the action items 1,
Yeah.
2, and 3 that are, I mean, we have come further in the agenda here, but
We'll get to it.
we'll get to it. So I guess I would just say,
If you are wondering about a physical part of the pipe or something, I can ask questions, or not to be that detailed, but just if you're questions. I have a question that 6 other people have that they just don't know that other people have that same question. That's all. I mean, just
well, do you want to?
I have one-
Oh,
Yeah,
go
I've got one
ahead.
question about I might as well bring it up now, and that is that since it's being broken up into 3 sections, I imagine the projects of building railroads, people building from 2 different directions and then discovering they didn't meet at the same location, so it's complicated, right, to get all that alignment. I'm sure you're thinking a lot about how to make sure everybody is building pipe to the same point so that the connection goes smoothly. And there's really the most important connections are in the middle segment because in, the 2 end segments are going to a fixed point. And it's the middle segment which will be most vulnerable to the edges of the middle segment which will be most vulnerable to this misalignment. So I'm sure you're thinking about it. Any thoughts about that you want to share?
I think we're thinking golden mechanical joints for the connection points. I mean, we're talking about bringing railroads together, right?
I'm very confident that the engineering work that's required for those interconnections is being taken care of by Garrett. Remember, we have 3 different contractors, right? But that controls costs, by the way. Instead of giving one contract for the entire length, you get a lot more change orders and it's more difficult to control the cost of. So this was a smart move by Garrett and Kurt. But we still have the same in-house project management. And so those interconnection points where the different contract teams are going to be interfacing. First, those contractors will be in communication, and that'll be coordinated by our in-house managers, right? So I'm not too worried about that, and we're using the same design standards, same piping. So that should all be accommodated at the job site.
Yeah, I think it's a valid concern, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that.
I've had the same questions.
Yeah, I think we're definitely front of mind.
Yeah,
we don't want
I
the north lane and the next section in the south lane. That wouldn't help.
Can I ask a question about the route here? So we have this like Lampman loop that goes down Church and Olson and then across to Lamp. Did we look at what that would be going up, like north on Church and Olson and down Douglas? Did we look at that at all? Do you know what I mean? Like flipping, like mirroring that, just because I know we have to fix the Douglas line, or maybe we don't have to, but just curious.
So that where you're thinking is back up to Douglas.
Yes.
So the problem with that is that we would have to go next to the pipe, and there's other utilities in Douglas Road. So we would probably encounter utilities that are not in the same lanes as the pipe. So we'd have to dig up that whole section and replace it in a new pipe, which wouldn't be as quick, it wouldn't be as fast as just opening up the road and putting it in the pipe.
Yeah, and we also don't want to do heavy construction near the Douglas line
Mm.
in its current state.
Yeah.
Vibration, impacts, things like that,
Thank you.
we already think that, it's in a deteriorated state. We don't want to aggravate that.
Mhm. Okay. That's all the questions for me.
Well, yeah, I can see best efforts are being made, and understanding this is a state of emergency. We're not going to be cutting corners in how we're doing this, and especially when it comes to public safety, environmental hazards, and best practice all around for our workforce, the neighbors, the residents, everybody, understanding that there is going to be, a good deal of inconvenience as a result of this. And we're also communicating closely with those impacted, having these open houses. I was glad to see that folks came out last night. Expect more folks will come tomorrow. But also in direct communication, right? So, I know there's some emergency proclamations we have secured from the county and from City of Ferndale. Are there any other parallel government actions that we're waiting on?
No,
Okay.
no. But while you bring that up, I'd like to mention a big shout out thanks to the Mayor of Ferndale for his support. What he's really doing is empowering his team to work with us. And we had a great meeting with them on Friday. With the mayor and the city administrator, so Kurt's putting in place a communication plan to keep them well informed, and I really appreciate their partnership.
Yeah.
That sentiment is shared. We do, definitely appreciate Mayor.
How did can someone share, because I wasn't there, how the yesterday's open house went?
Someone want to give a brief summary?
Yeah, to recap that, we had probably 12, 15 people show up. And so that meeting was targeted for the unit line replacement. And so the people, most likely to show up would be people impacted by that. In general, I think the major concern that we heard from constituents was there was already some work happening. The large segments of this pipe are being laid down along some easement properties that we've made arrangements to have lay down space for. And they just didn't know what was happening. So we reassured them that, that's part of that. There's no strip mall being built or something like that because they didn't know what was going on. And then, we were able to, Garrett was able to explain the nature of the project. We're going to be on one side of the road. The other side of the road will be available for limited traffic. They'll have access to their homes, reassured them about all those things. And we really, I think there was a pretty good general amount of support from the people that were here. I thought it was a really good meeting. And then that's really the highlights. Tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. is the Douglas Road open house and discussion with members of the community who want to discuss Douglas Road with us.
I thought Garrett did an excellent job communicating the project to the public that showed up, and all in all, I'm glad that we made the space for that, and I look forward to attending tomorrow. We're granted, there might be folks here waiting to provide public comment on this for us, and we as we had it laid out, we had another agenda item to get to before that. So probably best if everyone's ready to move along. So if folks are out there waiting, we can anticipate about 10 minutes. We'll open it up for public comment. But first, we're going to have a finance report from Annette.
No, she's muted.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, as you know, this hit us a little less than two weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. And all of a sudden we are looking at coming up with $60 million. And that was a bit of a panic. In 2025, we issued roughly $60 million in bonds that were targeted for a Plant 1 rebuild. Now, the Plant 1 rebuild has been slow. We've hit, as you know, permitting and engineering issues. And so we're still sitting on the bulk of that. Now, one thing that has complicated it is that they are considered a private activity bond. So what that means is it's a tax exempt bond issued by a municipality, but because it's for very limited number of customers, they're considered a private activity. So there's more hoops we have to jump through. And at first blush, I was thinking, okay, we're good. We have this pool of money we can pull from that because our official statement says that it's for the water treatment plant 1 rebuild or water infrastructure. So that would fall under that. We had a meeting with our bond attorney and our municipal advisor, and they said, no, we need to look at this because there's other pieces to that. And those two pieces are a TEFRA, which is the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, and then also a bond allocation, private activity bond cap allocation from the Department of Commerce. So last week was a stressful week, thinking that I might have to come up with $60 million in a very, very short period of time. Luckily, on Friday, we did get a call from our bond attorney that said, we need to make some adjustments, but we believe that you can go ahead and use that pool of money that you have. So that we still have some things to figure out, but that releases the immediate stress a little bit. Now, going forward, what we're going to have to do is we will have a public hearing at our next commission meeting. And that we just got the text last night, and then we'll send it out. But it's basically during our commission meeting next next time, we will have stop the commission meeting, open a public hearing, listen to any public comments, close the public hearing, and then we'll be able to submit that and satisfy the TEFRA piece of that. So there's a couple little steps that we do need to do. And I'm working with our bond attorney on that. But the overall relatively good news is that we are able to tap, we have roughly 58 million left of those bond funds that we can use. So that should, unless Garrett gets really crazy or things go sideways, that should cover almost all of this project. But it also means we're going to be turning around and issuing bonds sooner than later to refill that pot so we can go ahead with our Plant One rebuild. Is there any questions on that?
I suppose my question is there's a few $1 million difference, so we will have to come up with that few $1 million difference.
Well, I'm targeting the 60 million, but as Kurt says, that's the high side. But because we're doing it so quick and there's a lot of variables involved, it's safer to go that conservative number. But yes, we also, that 58 million is what we have left of the bond funds. We still have several million left in our normal capital reserve or capital project fund. So, but we also have other capital projects we're in the middle of that we're going to have to use that
Right.
also for.
Right. So no need for a bake sale yet.
Well, you know,
Okay. Thank you.
yes,
I have a question.
sure.
The bond market is different always, changes every, and is what's happening as far as federal debt putting upward pressure on rates for municipal bonds too?
Oh yeah,
And-
the interest rates are going up. Yes.
And so that's has a negative impact on the price for borrowing for us, right?
Yes.
And does that mean does that create an incentive for us to borrow very soon? Or is it better to wait and borrow, maybe slow down some of our other activities and borrow later? What's your thinking on that subject?
Well, that's your standard finance crystal ball question. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
um,
A tool you could label it a tool standard finance crystal ball question. I ask every year to Annette.
yeah, so, you know, rates are going to be higher than what they were in 2025. And with our increased debt, that's going to probably cost us some percentage points with the rating agency, I'm guessing. So I'm not seeing us getting out of expensive debt.
So the expensive debt is here and it's here to stay.
Yeah, we're just going to have to get those brownies baked or something.
And we're looking at significant rate increases, I would assume.
Yes,
Yes.
this is, the thing we're talking about is gonna have to translate into rate increases for our customers.
Right.
Commissioner Dismay, also be aware that, the pace or rate at which we can expend those bond funds, right? Is limited too. There's only so much we can get done at any given time, right? So executing, the capital construction is also difficult to match if we wanted to increase how much we were bonding to save some money, right?
Is there a way, Annette, that we can essentially place the action for generating the bonds, lock the rate, and then have a time period where we've got the rate locked, where we're going to get the money, but we're not paying interest on it until we're ready? Is there an instrument for that?
Not in the long term that I know of. I'd have to check with the municipal financial advisor. I know when we do issue bonds, there is a shorter time frame than what you're talking about when we're issuing bonds that say, okay, we're going to lock it now. And then we still have some steps that we have to complete before we issue the bonds and get the cash. But also during sale day, when we send the bonds out, those interest rates might get tweaked just a little bit if some series aren't selling or some series oversell. Those do get tweaked. I mean, but we're talking minuscule amounts usually.
We have done okay with slower project execution because the rate we've been paid for our deposit of cash has been helpful, meaning higher, perhaps than it could have been. And so will that same reality be true, meaning that federal debt being more expensive and municipal debt being more expensive, will that be matched by deposit, what our local banks also pay us for cash deposit?
Oh, no. No, because we are very limited in what we can invest in. And there's a whole, one of the things I have to do annually is I work with a lawyer slash accountant, and he does an arbitrage report. So that is something that is watched closely of the amount of interest that we are earning on cash and bond funds that we're holding. And that's called the arbitrage. And so that was one of Chris's and I's worry because these bonds aren't being spent like we thought, and we're sitting on a lot of it. It's possible we could need to pay some of that interest earnings back.
So truly, it's that arbitrage that determines how expensive project execution delays are, and it will possibly be more expensive. There's a potential of future debt being more expensive for in terms of project execution delays than current debt.
I don't know if I'd say that. The point is we're not going to issue debt until we need it because of arbitrage and because of just, I mean, in the ideal world with no costs, I'd love to have excess millions in the bank, but there's a cost to that if we're doing it through bond financing. And so we would have to pay interest that maybe we wouldn't necessarily need to be paying interest. And like we just mentioned, the interest we're receiving on those bond funds does not match the interest that we are paying.
But it's a lot closer today, whereas it could be more in the future.
Yeah,
That gap?
again, that crystal ball thing.
Yeah, okay. But okay, and I know you don't want to be on public record saying that you predict something, and I understand that. I totally respect it. Thanks for talking to that issue.
All right. Is there any more questions?
Nope.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Well, yeah, well, we got some future steps ahead of us on that, but we have enough cash to move now, and that's good news. So we're going to move to public comment. We'll accept. So I guess I'm going to see. Maybe I'd like to first maybe just see a show of hands from folks online or in the room who are interested in speaking to the commission today. And you may use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen on Zoom for those listening. Not seeing any. Are we sure? No one here? Okay. I'll just let it sit for a second, just in case. Yeah, I would.
We can go to the room though.
In the room? No.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we will allow one more opportunity at the end of the meeting before we adjourn. Can't guarantee what time that'll be. for up to 3 minutes per speaker to address the commission. Not seeing anyone. All right, recognizing there, don't hesitate to reach out to staff or commissioners expressing concerns about anything at any point. But for now, we're going to close public comment and move to old business with an update on adjudication. Peter.
So there's only been, I think I reported on the actual court hearing at the last meeting. That's where the steering committee presented their mixed recommendation on dealing with depositions. We haven't heard back yet from the court on that. We're anticipating 2 things to be issued in the court. One would be addressing the committee's recommendation on how things are going to be filed, main case versus sub cases when it comes to this perpetuation of testimony and depositions. And then the next thing we also anticipate hearing what the court is going to ask the steering committee to look at next. The technology issue is still the main issue I think the court is grappling with. And a reminder that I think I've sent a couple emails now on a court open house this Friday. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Questions? No? Well, we're making good time here. Oh no. Let's take a brief recess. Do we think we need to do 10 minutes? Should it 5 minutes?
5 minutes will work for me.
5 minutes will be good. Okay, let's say we're resuming at 10:02 a.m. We are in recess momentarily. Well, it's 10:02, so we're ready to get back into it. Lisa?
Yeah.
Everybody good? We'll resume the public meeting with new business, beginning with presentation requests for funding in the amount of $30,000 for Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association. Rebecca. Did you have something to share with us before we moved into the presentation?
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I forgot to mute. Hi, good morning, Commissioners. Yes, I would like to introduce James Vandervoort, who is the Riparian Project Manager for the Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association. And he is here today to give us a presentation on what the Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association has been doing, which is a lot. So take it away, James.
Welcome, James. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that intro, Rebecca. Yeah, I would like to present to you all. I normally do this in January, and then Rebecca asked me to do it now since you guys are doing budgeting things now. I'm assuming I'm still going to present later in the year, so this presentation's a little different. It will be more just kind of here's NC, here's what we do, just to kind of wrap back into that. And then I put in a little piece about some of the new things that are coming for 2027. And I'm going to try and go quick so I don't take up too much of your time. So NC, nonprofit, 501c3, we educate, inspire, and engage the community to take action to keep wild salmon here for future generations. We are one of 14 regional fisheries enhancement groups across the state. In 1990, state legislature adopted the legislation enabling these to be created. We are up here in Whatcom County and work in WIRA 1, Water Resource Inventory Area 1, as our kind of jurisdiction. I don't want to spend too long on this. I feel like most people know this, but as far as salmon life cycle goes, we stick to freshwater areas. So the spawning, incubation, emergence, and then the early periods of rearing are really where most of our work is spent. Recovery partners, such as tribes and City of Bellingham, those folks are doing more of the ocean type stuff. This is a map of roughly projects that NC has done. The blue dot, it's kind of hard to see on this one. The blue dots are in-stream projects. Green dots have trees in them. Those are riparian projects. And then the apples are all of the school districts we work with. So NC is doing all three of those pieces. I'd like to take a minute and kind of just go over how each of the programs works or what are some of the things that we do. So our education, we believe education is the first step to caring. That's why our first pillar is education. NC's education programs provide youth and educators with opportunities to engage in the many ways that salmon are a part of our environment, culture, and economy. We do this through hands-on learning and discovery. Our community learns and works to sustain a healthy watershed where salmon and people thrive. These are performed through Camp Keystone. We also started a nature preschool, Keystone Preschool, last year, which was a huge success. And then we have the Future Leaders of Whatcom Water's internships, they call it FLOW, and Students for Salmon and Salmon in the School. So we are supporting students raising salmon from egg to fry and then releasing them. And then we also perform field trips where I believe it's fourth grade classes come out and learn about the rivers, creeks, perform some light monitoring, elementary level monitoring, and then kind of grade the creek that's in their community. And then we have the stewardship program. So stewardship at NC means inspiring our community to take action. We care for the land and water around us by planting native trees, shrubs, and removing invasive plants and litter. NC's stewardship program provides people of all ages and abilities opportunities to restore salmon habitat, view salmon, and learn about ways they can engage in local salmon recovery efforts. So we do that through the Salmon Discovery Program, Salmon Spotters, and Stream Stewards. Stream Stewards is probably where most of you have or would have the opportunity to support this type of work. That's the volunteer community work parties. We partner with all the salmon recovery partners in the region and support their projects and bring the community out to them. And let's see. And then restoration. Restoration is kind of the through line across all of the programs, but we do have our standalone, in-house restoration program. We work on fish passage barrier removal, large woody debris installation, monitoring of our projects and waterways, and then riparian planting. I guess I didn't introduce myself, but that can come here. So I'm James Vandervoort. I'm the riparian project manager, as Rebecca said. We also have Eli DeWitt, who's the in-stream project manager. And then for field staff right now, I have 3. One is a field coordinator, Devin Soliday. Emily Tower is one of the technicians. She's my monitoring specialist. And then Will Ashford is the other habitat technician. And he kind of manages tools, equipment, and volunteer specialist from our side of things. I wanted you all to meet, the team, because I interact with you in these meetings, but they don't often get to see anyone. So that was kind of, I just wanted to bring them up. And then one thing that PUD has supported NC with over, I believe when I looked the other day, my archives were showing like 2015 at least was the last time I had information. Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. And so part of that is the WCC crew. We have sponsored WCC crews almost since we began, and currently we co-sponsor a crew with Whatcom County. So they work on our projects. They also work on county projects, restoring salmon habitat across the whole county. The current crew we have right now was actually done in 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. And that's Sky Sailing, Case and Bro, Henry Moeller, Rose Valiant, Oliver Webb is the supervisor, so he sticks around year after year. And then Zoe Cowan is the assistant. Normally we have one of the first year members stick around for a second year as the assistant. This is the program I started out with, so I've always been really attached to the funding that provides NC the ability to do that. And then from there, and at this part, I normally just talk about the work that was done, the metrics. I have that in here, but I kind of wanted to focus a little more on some projects too. So this is when I pull other layers off of that map I showed you earlier and make it a little easier to see. These are all riparian projects. I think since we began, I've counted about 400. There's a handful that have been added in the past few years that I didn't add to this map yet. And then there's a few that, I find out the archive information wasn't 100% accurate, but it means they were more an in-stream project than a riparian. So it's pretty minimal. As you can see, we're pretty spread out across the county. There are definitely groupings of projects that is normally attributed to, once we get in with a community, word of mouth spreads and the neighbors tend to reach out and work with us. So here's some of the numbers. So in 25, we installed about 32,000 native trees. We had 18 new projects, which improved about 4.5 miles of stream, and then maintained about 100 acres of older projects that was about 4 miles of stream. And then we recently started going back to our very early project sites and performing maintenance, seeing what they need long term, and we got through about 15 acres of those, and then reached out to like 76 property owners, and that's continued through this year. In 2025, one of our in-stream projects was this Kenny Creek. It was along North Fork Nooksack. We installed 39 pieces of large woody debris. And I think I left another slide about this project, so I'll leave that. What I proposed for 2026 was that we had 3 new projects. Those are all underway at the moment and are now in maintenance. The planting has been finished. 4 SRF sites, those are salmon recovery funding sites. These are big sites along the river. That picture there is a Whatcom Land Trust property along North Fork Nooksack. These are big projects. These were really fun to undertake this year, and we're planting them in the fall. Some of them, I believe, will be community work parties too. So if you want to check them out, come on out to one of them. The goal for this year is roughly the same, about 30,000 plants. And then we've got 6 sites on the docket for the legacy protection removal. I threw the nursery in there because we have a native plant nursery. There were about 15,000 plants. And then we started a gravel bed that supports 8,000 native trees and shrubs. The legacy assessment I mentioned, when Eli and I took over for Daryl Gray, one thing that he imparted to us was that there were quite a few older projects that funding stopped as far as maintenance goes. And one of the objectives, one of the salmon recovery goals of this region was to protect existing riparian forest buffers. It is more efficient to do that, more cost effective to do that than creating a new riparian forest buffer. So one thing that we started looking at was going back to these older projects, reaching out to the landowners who may have changed hands or just don't know who we are since they knew Daryl or a predecessor before him, and assessing them for what kind of maintenance needs they have. What we found was some of them still had the materials we put on as tree protection, cages, blue tubes, things like that, where the funding fell out and it never got back to us to go out and clean them up. So we're starting to go out through those. That's our stream team volunteer event, which people seem to love. It's really tough work, so I was kind of surprised they did, but that's been huge. And as we're going back to these sites, we're trying to find older aerials. So on the left there, you see Black Slough. It has always been pretty much reed canary grass. I don't remember the date that this was pulled from, but aerials were black and white, so it's pretty old. And then on the right is a newer one pulled from Google Earth. And you can see the riparian forest buffer has grown quite a bit there. And then we are piloting a more in-depth assessment as well, working with Western Washington University professors and students to go out to these sites and gather metrics on canopy cover, size of the buffer, and then assessing overstory, understory, invasive plant abundance to kind of get at the question of how well did we do in creating a riparian buffer. It's really difficult to assess, like, did we quantitatively improve salmon habitat or water quality? But in performing this, if we can say that we created a healthy forest buffer, the associated benefits that come with those kind of are implied. So in 2027, where this increased funding will support, there are 3 new conservation district projects. We have received funding for 2 new Department of Ecology projects. And then there are a handful more that I'm planning with tribal partners, Whatcom County, Public Works and Flood Control. We're also talking with Whatcom County Parks and Rec on how to improve riparian buffers along some of their public parks. We're hoping to continue this legacy monitoring and assessing some of the old project sites. We just received some funding to support other recovery partners as well. So I'm in communication with, the tribes, county, conservation districts, city of Bellingham on taking some of their older project sites and seeing what maintenance needs would be, or putting them into that deeper assessment of, how well did we do creating a riparian buffer. And as far as the bigger metrics, like I don't have it all planned out yet, but it's roughly the same. Still looking for about 30,000 plants in the ground. That seems to be our average goal this year, which is large. When I spoke with Daryl, that's pretty big compared to what he was doing, but that's because of the size of the sites now. Yeah, and so this is the in-stream project we did in 25. That was like that concludes what I was bringing as far as like here's what we've done, here's what we're gonna do. I think I was given is 15 minutes okay? Can I go a couple more minutes and just look at a few project sites? Or do we need time?
I think we got time, yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll go quick, and then any of these, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me. I love to talk about our projects. So Kenny Creek, this was the huge project that Eli completed as an in-stream last year. We lost a lot of in-stream funds in the past year or two, just with how things played out on a grander scale, I'll say. And so this was the one that we were able to complete. It was a huge collaboration between Land Trust, County Public Works, Conservation Districts, NC, the tribes, DFW, everyone had some part to play. I put a link in here for the Land Trust video that they made, just kind of talking about that partnership, which was really well done. And multiple funding sources. The county removed the fish ladder that had been installed in like the 80s, cutting off access to spring Chinook, which is our big ESA listed species up here. All other species could get above it. So this was a really cool project for them. And then we came in and managed some of the erosion control, installed large woody debris, and then the volunteers, the community, and my funding are helping us plant out the rest of the property. That's a really cool one to check out. I mean, even aside from a work party, if any of you want to just go visit it, let me know. I'll take you out there. And then one that I use for some of my other presentations is just looking at this 10 Mile Creek project we started. So this is an overview of the 10 Mile Creek watershed. On the left, you can see Ferndale's right there, I-5, Guide Meridian's kind of going through the center. All the green dots are projects, riparian projects that we've done. And the blue dots are in stream. So you can see we've done a lot of work on 10 Mile, 4 Mile Creek, and it's all really clustered up there. Back in 2019, we partnered with the Conservation District, and that blue line going through was the old irrigation ditch. We removed that and rechannelized, remade it into a creek. So this was the new creek that was formed. On the left was during construction, on the right was just after planting. And then, as you can see in the last photo, most of that is wetland. So the right half was actually donated to county to plant and use as mitigation for the work that they did on East Hemi. And then we partnered with Conservation District and have planted the rest of those purple areas. And so that's a pretty cool one to drive down East Hemi and check out at this point. It used to be a sea of blue tubes. Right now, it's a sea of blue tubes with a lot of greenery.
I've been in there.
And then this is just our kind of one pager that we share with folks that shows the new channel being made and kind of what it looked like before or after. It's not too often that we do big rechannelized projects like this, but this one was really interesting. And one of the earlier ones that Eli and I kind of worked on together. And that's, I'm over 15, sorry. Questions if we have time, or feel free to email me. And then I put the website link there for if you want to look at volunteer events.
Thank you, James.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question for you. What level have we given at in the past?
I haven't looked too far back since I've been around. I believe it's been 20,000 every year. And I remember, I was talking with Rebecca. I was like, I am so grateful for that. It is hugely helpful. This funding doesn't come with like strings attached as far as reporting or, specific projects attached to it. So it really helps me fill gaps. But with funding issues and the environment for funding right now for nonprofits and environmental work, I thought it would be beneficial to see if anything more could be done. Rebecca, do you have any more info on the history of what's been given?
Oh, am I talking?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Oh, I was still. You're correct. It's been $20,000 for over 10 years, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
We've been supporting you probably more closer to 15 years maybe now.
Okay,
Anyway,
nice.
and
Yeah.
you know, talking to other staff people, it's like, you know, the 30,000 is probably more like 20,000. I mean, you know, the cost of
Right.
everything has gone up, so that's why we
Right.
appreciated the fact that, you know, we hope we can do the 30,000 this year. So
Right.
I,
Yeah, and I'd be happy to come back and do the normal presentation I do at the end of the year and give you more information on what was funded in 25 and or 26 and what I've got kind of actually on the docket for 2027.
Oh, Rebecca, did you want to add to that first or?
no.
I'm sorry, I can go up again. Yeah, well, this is awesome. I love that we can fund and support this work. And, you know, understanding, you know, you're utilizing a lot of volunteers and intern labor and you know, in collaboration with Washington Conservation Corps. I'm curious about what's the overall the total budget for the projects you were presenting on today. How much, like, how big a chunk is 30,000 toward your work?
It depends on the project, like that. The Kenny Creek project was much higher than 30,000. Anytime I have in-stream barrier removal, bridge installation, that's like a minimum 100,000 for the most part. A riparian planting can be anywhere from 50 to 100,000 depending on the size of the project. That the planting just for that Kenny Creek one, I believe, was about 80,000 for that. And so that's where, like, I think if you look at it in that sense, the 30,000 doesn't feel like a lot of money. But when I have to go out to search for grants, plan these projects, all of these things, like, for the most part, these grants will fund me doing project work, will fund the crews doing project work. To have extra funds for the crew needs some replacement safety gear that wasn't written into this other contract, or the WCC crew actually didn't work on this county project. Now someone needs to pick up 2 weeks of their time. Like, having these kind of free flowing funds that just can fall in the cracks is hugely beneficial to us. I mean, even a couple of years ago, the funding really dried up as far as like the volunteer efforts, the community engagement, the students groups. This is kind of something that can support big issues like that come up as they may.
Well, other thoughts from other commissioners here?
I really appreciate the work that you do, and I've had a chance to tour some of your projects as a fellow nonprofit leader. I feel for you. It's really hard. Fundraising is really hard right now, and nobody funds our sort of administrative overhead. So I can see how this would be a blessing to you. Maybe wouldn't fund an entire project, but it might fund a half-time employee, and there wouldn't be no projects without employees. So something to consider.
So
Definitely.
I've always been a strong supporter of NC, and I'm glad that we can continue to do so. And you know, there's some elements to what Whatcom County PUD is doing in terms of service to the whole county, and this is a key part of it. You know, if you put it all together, what NC does, what Dave Olson does in serving water associations, and then what we do at the Watershed Management Board, it constitutes our whole county focus for water for our community. And I believe that's really core to the public utilities. So anyway, I'm happy to see this. I made the suggestion a couple years ago about increasing our contribution level. I'm glad we're doing it. So
Thank you, James.
Well,
Thank you, everyone.
There's no election.
thank you, James. Yeah, really awesome to hear about all the great work you're doing and for taking the time to present to us. I think sounds like we're all supportive of continuing to fund. No action expected today. When would we next be taking action, I guess,
We approve the 2027 budget.
In the 27 budget, okay. All right. Well, let that be heard then. Well, thanks again, James.
Have a good day.
We're moving on to action one, resolution number 904, confirming the existence of an emergency and confirming waiver of competitive bidding requirements. Kurt, are you reporting on this?
Yes.
Please proceed.
So this was kind of in conversation with Peter. We felt like this was the choice to make this clear what the PUD and the commission are looking to do with this emergency work. Just to make sure that the record states clearly everything that we've kind of made decisions on so far. This isn't like what we found out. I mean, it's what we found out in the field, but what we've done as a group to kind of progress this forward and to make this an official resolution of where we are and to clarify the record for the future, basically. But to also have the board's approval to do the work, essentially.
Makes good sense. I'm ready to move on this if you guys are.
Yeah, I have no questions on it. It makes sense to me, too.
So I move to approve resolution number 904, confirming the existence of an emergency and confirming waiver of competitive bidding requirements.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, I guess I think we're all, I mean, we're all certainly supportive. I mean, supportive of this and recognize the need. But I guess I just would like to a little more clarity on in waiving competitive bidding requirements. That we may be legally exempt from that and such. Does that preclude us from like what do we retain as far as our ability to select a competitive bid other than lowest cost?
So, well, just to back up, the main thing, so when you look at the delegation of authority that is currently in place for the general manager, and you look at state law, and you look at those together, there's basically to have an emergency where you don't go out and do a formal public bidding process, there are 3 steps. One, the general manager finds the existence of an emergency, and that actually occurred previously. And then you enter into contracts. I don't know exactly where the PUD is now on entering into construction contracts, but maybe we're ahead of schedule.
We have not.
Yeah.
We have not signed any.
So we might be ahead of schedule, which is fine. We did enter into an agreement on a professional services task order. I believe that's been executed.
Correct.
So it's a 3-step process: finding by the general manager, enter into contracts, and then within 2 weeks' time by statute that needs to be the existence of that emergency needs to be confirmed by the commission. That doesn't have to be by resolution, but this is a significant enough emergency that it seems like it warrants it. You have the county executive who has declared emergency. You have apparently Ferndale has declared an emergency. So it made sense the legislative body declares an emergency, and it's required by state law as part of waiving competitive bidding. And what it allows you to do is enter into these agreements with contractors and professional services without you can still make choices that are consistent with good practices, finding the best contractor at the lowest price possible, but you don't have the typical process. You'd have to get this all spec'd out, designed before you even put it out to bid, and then you'd have a bidding timeline. And that's what this allows you to avoid.
Right. Understanding we just need to move quickly. and with no delay here. But we're still, yeah, okay, so we'll still be, we're at will to select and negotiate and choose contracts, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We won't be hiring the reflective pool contractor.
Yeah, and, you know, still we'll be, you know, putting it out there for anyone to come and, you know, and anyone may still, you know, be considered for a contract, right?
We've talked to more than 3 contractors.
Yeah, and we'll be approving those contracts. Yeah.
Yes. Those are the contracts.
Okay.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
We won't be individually approving contracts. We have delegated that
We
authority
totally do
to
it.
the,
Yeah.
the general manager.
Yeah, the last commission meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Comment?
But-
My comment is that I think it's already been demonstrated by Kirk and Garrett. What I think is a really excellent practice that they have, despite recognizing when an emergency, have made sure to get other opinions from other contractors as is appropriate. I just want to appreciate what has been done in the past and encourage that type of approach. There's a difference between talking to as many people to get the best value for our funds and then meeting the strictest definition of our contracting requirements, which we are waiving for the time being under the emergency. And I just wanted to make a comment that I appreciate what's being done, and I have confidence that that's the way they'll continue to operate on this project.
Yeah, and it's, thank you, Commissioner, and it's not that I don't, trust and have faith in, our staff in making those determinations. If we're talking about, you know, ballpark of $50 million project, I mean, it is a major capital project. It is the kind of thing that normally we would be, you know, we'd have a project labor agreement. This would be it's just a job creating major economic development, and we'd be going through a lot of steps to do that. We're moving, it's the size and scale of it relative to it being an emergency order. That just gives me some, you know, is why I'm feeling a moment to take a pause here, in that.
Sure.
We're, granted, you know, because normally, and we delegate authority, but with some under, you know, below a certain threshold, right? And so, you know, it's also just the accompaniment of, you know, the resolution brought to us today of, you know, that we'll be taking action on momentarily. I
want to correct. I think so. This waives the competitive bidding requirements. I would say this isn't necessarily waive. So again, the process for emergency is general manager can execute the contract, but the contract itself should be ratified, I think, by the commission at the next regular meeting. So this doesn't necessarily waive that part of the current delegation of authority.
Yes, and it certainly doesn't waive our fiduciary responsibility, right? To act responsibly, right?
Yeah, but I think that the reality is, though, with some of these contractors, like, we're going to have to take who's available in the moment also, right? Like, this is an emergency, so that could preclude some maybe, or exclude some contractors that maybe we would have used too. Like, everything is moving fast.
Yeah, no, recognizing that may be the case. Well, I'm comfortable taking, I mean, of course, we need to declare an emergency and, you know, and waiver of the competitive bidding requirement, it goes along with that. So, why don't we
Yeah, we made a motion in
We
a
can-
second.
So let's call this one to a vote. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Yeah,
Action 2 is to approve the temporary increase in the revolver limit to $50,000. Staff report.
Yes, commissioners, that is in response to this big project. We have that temporary revolver checking account that we can issue checks out of without going through the county's, 2+ week turnaround. And we are finding that we're needing that more with this project. So what I'm proposing is that we temporarily increase that balance from 20,000 up to $50,000. And then when this project is over, we can bump it back down to the regular 20.
yeah, I'm fine with that. I think that I just like to have caps on things, right? Like little bookends that, so the request is that we approve the temporary increase in the revolver limit to 50,000, but I would like to add that, and that will change at the end of this project, right?
So this will increase the amount of money that we spend that doesn't go through the county's system. And
No.
will that
Not
impact?
necessarily. It's just a quicker, what we can do is we can write an immediate check and then we go through the county system to reimburse that revolver.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the temporary increase in the revolver limit to 50,000. And that temporary increase will end with the closing of the Unique Line project.
Is it tied to Unique Line project? We only have one emergency declaration. Is there a second? Anyway, I'll go ahead and I just want to clarify. I'll go ahead and second that and then discuss a little bit more if we can. I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. So recommendation of staff is that $50,000 will be sufficient for now. But if needed, we'll have to.
A tool to answer your question, the background in this memo, it does specifically address this increase for the Unique Road rebuild, not for Douglas. It's for the Unique Road rebuild.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. I didn't, thanks, I didn't see that, and I'm glad you made that clear. I wanted to just say that, we have all of our emergency declaration is around the Unique Line rebuild, and there's no more apparently planned emergency work on Douglas Line at present. And so this makes sense to me.
Yeah, if there's a future need for the revolving account to be higher, we'll come back to the commission at that time. In either case, we'll report back to the commission that we're going to put it back down to 20,000 once we're at the end of the Unique Line construction. Okay.
Granted, so so it's not, I guess. I'm not. You're asking for a direction of action from a simple motion and approval, right? But do we now need to specify a duration as far so this temporary?
That's what I.
Like you were saying, saying that
at the close of the Unique Line project, it will go back down to 20,000. That's why I added the sort of a bookend on the motion.
right.
Yeah.
But that date is TBD. It's just
Right.
It's basically at the point that
We've paid all the bills.
Yeah, when we've declared that the emergency is over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometime in 27.
But until further notice, we have we're going to temporarily increase.
Correct.
Okay. So clarity on the motion. We had a second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next action is to authorize general manager to approve renewal of dental and medical benefits. Lisa?
Yes, Commissioners, I have an item that is not related to the emergency unit line rebuild. It's just standard business. So this is just the September 1st renewal of our benefits for our non-union employees. And it indicates for you the costs that are there. And this year we're seeing a 13.5% increase, which is a little bit below the 15% that Regents was authorized. And below the median increase that is being seen in the ACA marketplace, which is about 20%. So these are just the standard rising costs that everyone is seeing. And we're just asking for you to authorize the general manager to approve that renewal.
Okay.
This is easy. I will move to approve authorization of renewal of dental and medical benefits by the general manager.
I'll second that.
I think I beat you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Action approved.
Thank you, Commissioners.
So next up, we have the late addition to the modified agenda, resolution number 905. Approving criteria for modification of requirements for apprenticeship utilization requirements in context of emergency recitals. Who's reporting?
You start, I'll finish.
Okay, all right. So 905 is for a waiver of apprenticeship utilization. There's multiple reasons that we're feeling this is an apt time to waive the requirements. One of them is because of the emergency declaration. I'm not sure that it necessarily applies. That's probably a little more Peter's category of this section, but that's one part. It might not even be applicable here. Another one is a demonstrated lack of availability. Like I mentioned earlier this morning, just there's so many contractors are wrapped up in projects already. I'm not sure how, what their availability is to not only bring crews to do the work, but crews that would fulfill any apprenticeship parts.
Those are-
parts of that. There you go.
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
Are the apprenticeship requirements state requirements?
Yeah, I can get into that in a second here.
Yeah, they are. So that's another issue, is just getting people on site to work is going to be an issue right at the bat, let alone without extra requirements. So then again, this is unplanned work, so the ability to get the line items in project specs for apprentice utilization is something that we probably won't be able to get into these on flat contracts. And then there's a fourth account portion. Not a lot of this is going to be formed by force account. So again, it might be a irregular, unpredictable subset of the total project. So that's another hurdle to fulfill in requirements.
So, jump in here. So this is an L&I requirement, and these. So generally, for certain levels of contracts above a certain dollar amount, I think in our case it's 1.5 million.
Right.
We're required to, a project of that size is required to have 15% of the people working on it to be apprentices. And this is all a great thing to do to engender our needs to be generating a workforce that fills these skilled labor positions. And so that's kind of the concept is why this had come about as an L&I requirement in the state. And we certainly support that, right? And but right now, there's some nuances. So if we get into a contract with a contractor for a contract above 1.5 million, they have to come up with an apprenticeship plan for that. And we're required to make sure they have that in their, embedded in their plan. And there could be financial penalties that the issuer of the contract or us, you know, if we're contracting with somebody, would invoke against the contractor for not meeting that requirement, right? So what we're trying to say here is we want to waive that requirement. The legislative body has to do that. I can't do that. And we're not trying to usurp this. This is simply, they don't have time to put a apprenticeship plan in place, nor are there enough apprenticeship positions or people to fill those, that 15% in this particular case. There's just not enough time in the emergency. What it does not do, it does not avoid, it doesn't compromise safety at the work site, because we're going to have qualified, actual licensed trades people out there, right? We're not deviating from prevailing wage or any issue like that, right? We're simply setting aside the requirement to have the apprentices, although we fully support that whole premise that the state has, right? Certainly as an organization like ours, it is dependent upon people working in the trades. So that's the concept.
Okay. I have a few questions. Just noting we didn't get time to review this in advance of today. And just before I get into it, just to keep stack, or you all also have things you want to ask?
I'm good. Go ahead.
I have some questions, but you can go first.
Okay, so in the memo here, so given the statutory requirement from the state that applies to us, there's this part about doubtful applicability. So if the utilization requirement applies to municipal public works contracts advertised for bid, and we're not advertising it for bid because of the emergency resolution we just approved, why do we need a resolution of the commission here?
I can answer that. It's really addressed in terms of the verbiage. It's addressed in the avoidance of doubt. So, and to the extent that statute applies. So this is a relatively new requirement, and there are no court cases, and I believe no specific L&I guidance on this. And so when you have that situation, instead of waiting to just make that determination on your own and having L&I make a contrary determination down the road, we decided to look at a tool that is in the statute for waiving the requirement in case our determination is not what the enforcement agency.
We don't want to be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are mechanisms in the code that allow us to do exactly what we're asking you to do. So there's a process for waiving the requirement. And so that's what we're presenting to you as the governing body to authorize.
So perhaps it may be redundant, but we don't want to test our luck.
No, we do not.
Getting at.
It makes sense that we want that we would do this, and for sake of clarity. I suppose though, if this is, if we were taking an action for the sake of clarifying that we're not bound to adhere by the 15% requirement, and thus our contractors are not. I still wonder if if it's within our bounds to prefer or encourage apprenticeship utilization without having some, a rigid 15% threshold that has to be met. But when we're doing contracting, be clear that we're still encouraging that where it's practical.
Yeah, I imagine, I guess I'm not positive, but I imagine that the contractors will just naturally have apprentices out. We're not saying that we don't want apprentices at all. We just want a waiver for meeting that threshold, right? So there'll still be apprentice people out on the job site.
Presumably, it depends who we contract with.
Sure, but most of them are.
Well, they're all going to be
apprentices.
They're all going to be certified with L&I and other. They're all going to be certified. contractors. So if they're big enough and they're big enough to bid on other projects, they're gonna have apprentices in their pipeline.
Right, and it would be a stipulation of the contractor that, to contract with them, we're also gonna be paying their apprentices. And, we're not,
It's all embedded in the contract.
that's, yeah, and so,
But they already have, as Kurt's mentioned, multiple contracts going on, right? And we've come along and said, hey, we need as many of your people over here as we can, right? So they already had apprenticeship plans for all those other contracts to meet this requirement, right? And so we're placing a huge burden on them to be able to generate a plan that complies with 15% and immediately start work for us, right? And so it's just not realistic that they can even put that together and start working the amount of time that we need them to.
absolutely, and I fully understand the need to remove barriers or anything that would slow us down at moving at with the pace we need to get this done. And we're talking about, getting basically a 90-day project, right? And still, it's just, I would, the state requirement there and, the full force and effect of that gives, what that does is it gives us some peace of mind to us to know, oh, well, this is an expectation. Everyone knows the role. This is what's going to happen. In absence of this, I guess I would still like to, I would still like to know, if that, and we'll see in the contracts, I suppose, or we'll have some report onto that later, that, to what extent there's apprenticeship utilization, just because that is a program that I think we should be supporting in all public works. I think it's a good law for a number of reasons, and given that, the shortage of skilled labor is part of what in itself is what makes, us have to cut around these requirements, right? Because, we're competing and doing this on short notice. We need more skilled labor in all sectors of utility and related trades, and apprenticeship is that's how you get the skilled labor that's going to do things the safe way and the right way and the quality that we need to be done. So we do want to see that utilized, right? And there are some though that would argue against it from a cost standpoint. And I just want to make it clear that we see the value in it, and it's something that we are going to be encouraging in our contracts to the greatest extent that it's doable, and not let it be a barrier to not getting the work done.
Yep.
If
I agree. Big fan of apprenticeship programs, and that we wouldn't seek this waiver for any sort of future projects. We definitely would love to meet that threshold.
Or any project that's on a standard timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Go ahead, Atul. I'm ready to make a motion when you're.
okay, well, I'll just be quick. Eddie said a lot of what I was, as far as benefits, and you echoed that, and I'm just echoing as well. The building workforce is obviously something that's a long-term effort for all of us, in public infrastructure, especially. And so let's just make a mental note to look for opportunities going forward on non-emergency projects. And then also Tony and I had a couple of visits, maybe with some of the local colleges, some opportunities that might present themselves, and can recognizing that we might find some new opportunities for supporting workforce development in the future. So.
Okay, well, I'm gonna move to approve resolution number 905, approving criteria for the modification of requirements for apprenticeship utilization requirements in context of emergency recitals. That's a lot to say. We want a waiver.
I'll second that. I'll second that motion.
Motion in a second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. And thank you, just noting my discomfort with this in part just because it was brought to us, without advance warning. But understanding that, staff have to move quickly and, we're building the plane on the runway, and so to speak, right?
We're building the plane while we're flying it.
Right. That's
While building the runway.
That's a better way to
While
put it.
building the runway.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. So we'll move to commissioner reports and starting with Commissioner Arnett.
I had a lovely meeting with Eric Hurst on Friday. And he wanted to talk about, I don't know if he shared his latest paper with the entirety of the commission and the staff, but it really is trying to address, I think the question posed was, is it too late for salmon? That I think people are really understanding now the urgency in finding solutions for our water issues in the Nooksack Basin. And I think that he's like, is it too pessimistic? And I was like, well, it's realistic, which unfortunately at this point is pessimistic. And we had a good chat about my take on needing to seek exemptions or a waiver for foster and for relinquishment in the Nooksack Basin, and perhaps doing some coalition building around those two things, finding some language for that, because of course, when you're seeking a waiver, it can't just be very broad, right? We don't want the storage in areas that is going to impact, fish returns, and, so it can't be super broad, but we are looking towards building a coalition around this idea, these two waivers. And I guess I could say that I'm the person that's sort of leading that charge. So that's that. The end.
Yeah, and thank you for your leadership on that.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah.
I don't think I have too much to report. But I'll, just, note a few things. I guess I'm going to be representing the commission in a discussion with the Nooksack tribe, recognizing that we might be getting closer to just some decision points on geothermal, and I think we'll probably want to have that on the agenda in September. I know I think Atul is going to be remote at the next meeting. It might probably wait till the second meeting in September. But just seeing how things move, there might be a need to discuss it at our meeting after Labor Day, or at least at the very least we'll have a report out. But I'm just noting that it's looking like the conclusion of the NEPA process is imminent. So.
Has the Nooksack Nation, have they reached out to you for meeting, or are they wanting to get together with the?
Yeah, this meeting that's happening, is that today, Eddie?
Yeah.
So I got a request from Anna, the deputy or vice chair of the Nooksack tribe, and I wasn't available, and they wanted me and Tony to come out to meet and talk with council about what they're thinking about the geothermal project, and I reached out to Eddie and see if he was available, and so I made the connection. Then they sent a meeting invite to Tony and Eddie.
Yeah, and Lenny, I didn't want to make you that might think are being left out.
Yeah, I know. So just, I'm gonna call out the elephant in the room there, is that that's sort of uncomfortable that we're having side conversations about a very big decision and we haven't talked
Well,
about it in public.
I mean, I think more the purpose for this is for us to get an update from them on where they're
Yeah.
at with things, and they don't want that to be in a public PD meeting. So if more than one of us was there, it would be, and, but this is just to get.
Sure, yeah, they should probably reach out to staff so that we don't have any sort of like OPA violations, OPMA violations, instead of having commissioners chit chat about a very important project behind the scenes. Like I mean, I'm just hearing about all of this, so.
Well, we had, it's been kind of been all summer where we were kind of waiting for the next
Yeah.
check point, and this is where, I mean, I think it's. Again, this is just,
Yeah.
we're just going to listen and hear from them, and it's. Yeah, well, I mean, we're not, that's what I'm missing, if there's something for us to discuss in the next
Yeah.
public meeting, then we're all gonna do that.
Yeah,
But understanding it's their meeting, and they, that they didn't wanna do like a full joint public meeting at this point.
yeah, no, that's fair. I guess I'm just like we shouldn't be reaching out to other commissioners about
Frankly, I have no idea what, and I didn't ask for details, what the content of the meeting is. So all I
Okay.
know, they want to have a meeting and they want to share their feelings. And so my only interaction, so like, commissioners we can talk to each other about scheduling a meeting. We can't talk to each other about the work product or what, our PUD or PUD, any PUD policy and things like that. But like, I can call any commissioner and say, hey, we need to have an emergency special meeting, for example. And otherwise we couldn't do special meetings in cases of an emergency. So, that's
Yeah.
that.
What I'm cautioning the
and that's
tool
all
is that be really careful about that, because you're treading very, like, when you call, or you saying, they want to have a special meeting about geothermal because the NEPA process is coming to an end. Like, you have just now crossed into territory, and I'm not saying either of you did. I'm just saying that our meetings are different because we have 3 people, and that we shouldn't expect Nooksack to understand the
No,
difficult.
yeah,
I mean,
and I didn't talk about content. All I talked about is that they want to have a meeting, and then I'm not available, and then I'll see if Eddie's available, and then and I asked if he was available, and then I asked that they send invites and whatever they want to talk about directly to Eddie.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, the communication was only to confirm that I'm available and interested to this week, and then staff scheduled the meeting.
Okay, great.
But just
Well,
because
yeah.
Tools was going out of town and is gonna be gone for a few weeks. He, had last been in contact with council members and wanted, it just was the kind of it was just, all I did was confirm, yes, I
Yeah,
want to meet.
yeah.
And, as president of the commission, just to,
Yeah.
and I'm making assumption that that's what we're gonna discuss.
Okay.
Because I haven't heard anything
Mhm.
else about it. But I'm just assuming that that's what we'll
Yeah.
talk about, and what I want to hear from.
Right. Well, I look forward to September and seeing where we're at in all of this. It's unfortunate that maybe the NEPA is coming to an end and we're in the middle of a mass emergency financially. So
Right.
it's interesting. It should just
We got a
be,
lot going on at the PUD, that's for sure.
we have a lot going on. I do feel like we're juggling many things.
Yeah, right. And I think with everything that's come up, with our emergency projects here, does somewhat change, or may change, the course of our decision making on this, and it's where we're gonna have to put the time to discussing it. And so that's where I was kind of flagging it, to
Yeah.
make sure we're gonna have the space and time to do that. Be
Yeah.
prepared in September, because where, the decision may be clear or might be not, but it is a decision we're gonna have to make as a
Right.
commission altogether, what we want to do. And
I guess at this point, since you haven't talked about the meeting, I mean, maybe Nooksack wants to take the lead on that. So I guess we don't really know, right?
We have no idea.
we're just committed to coordinating. But yeah, since we're since our last updates, we're all not quite sure what we're doing either. So it's so yeah, well, I'm just flagging this for
Yeah,
later.
thank you, Eddie.
It's,
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up those concerns because you're keeping all of us out of trouble in the process. So thank you. So
Yeah.
we
You don't want that kind of heat.
right, of course.
got plenty
So
of potential
the
heat,
next
yeah,
up, it'll be, I guess, in 2 weeks, I'll be able to report out what I learned, unless there's, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know
I
if
mean,
staff,
Tony can send us an email if there's something really consequential. I would love to get an update if there's something substantial coming out of that meeting.
Yeah, we'll see what we talk about.
Yeah.
Right. But I certainly will update all the commissioners on email. If you get an email from me, you should be assuming that the others are on it too, if I blind copy all parties.
Okay.
That just prevents a reply all.
Right.
Right.
Which we have accidentally done before.
Yes. Yeah. All right, help you.
Thank you.
well, okay, I guess just to wrap up my report, took a look at the draft of the ninth power plan is out for a public comment right now. And noting that, geothermals mentioned, where there's, where there's potential development, though it's, just noting that I was considering if it was something we might want to put in public comments on. Not sure if it's necessary or not, or it might, or some, I was thinking, like I might just be one of many people, I'm sure, just send something in as an individual, but I just wanted to check in as far as if we thought that was something that staff even have time or to bother with, or if it's not worth it. But just wanted to note that there's an open comment period.
Till the end of this month, is it?
I think I have double check the, I think it was a 60-day.
Oh, so maybe the end of September?
I think, yeah, well, sorry, I should have had the date in front of me, but it's, there's still some time. It was just a couple weeks ago that it was published.
I would like to suggest that it's one thing that we probably don't have bandwidth with to put that on staff's plate, but maybe what we should do is in a future meeting in our commissioner comments, if we do make any comment, if we do decide to make a comment, we bring it, since we have plenty of time, to the September 1st meeting for the other commissioners to hear what we're planning to say, and then make sure there's no issue with what we are planning to say as individuals. So
yeah, I would do that. I would make sure I would just, if I just think there's something to say, then to run it by everyone first.
I know you and Atul are much better versed at these types of things, like the ninth power plan, question mark. And they mentioned geothermal.
Yeah.
Any more detail?
Who
put that out?
The
Power.
Northwest Power and Conservation Council.
Yeah, I was trying to get the acronym right. So
NWPC.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's something that, like, I mean, it's probably you probably have emails in your inbox about it from Wapuda, I'd imagine. They're going to be probably putting forward for our committee approvals of a comment. And it's it's kind of a long and robust public process over coming up with long like the broad and long-term planning to meet the growing region-wide Pacific Northwest energy load growth demands. And so it's there's going to be stakeholders from in utilities, private and public, as well as and conservation groups and consumer advocates and tribes and local governments and businesses, like there's gonna be a lot of public participation on, feedback on this draft before they come out with a final plan. And then, I guess the significance of it to Whatcom PUD and how much and whether it affects us, I'm not exactly sure. It just might be something that we could have some informational contribution to in some form that might not be a bad idea to put forward. But yeah, there's a lot in there to.
I wish they would address how we're going to pay for these things. Like, they're geothermal, yes, hydro, yes, like there's all of these, do we need more transmission? Yes, but like, there's no funding mechanism attached to anything that I've seen that is rather
It's hard for
unfortunate.
us, yeah.
They have ballparked what the cost they think it would be and what the shortfall is. It's I think it's roughly 11,000 megawatts, right? Over the span of so many years. I can't recall. And it's like $2.5 billion they think is needed to generate that. I'm not sure what they base any of that on. I think the price would be higher than that. But they are estimating what the shortfall looks like for, I think it's just Washington and Oregon. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at it. But I just forwarded it to the three of you to refresh it in your inbox from NWPPA. And so you can take a look at that article.
Great.
Just
Thanks for highlighting that.
yeah, just knowing something to look at. I mean, it's interesting if nothing else. And Atul, let's go to your updates.
Great. I've got three things. You all have now probably received my long-awaited report on the Industrial Symbiosis Conference. I think it speaks for itself, but just for the benefit of public, I want to say that there's obviously benefits in thermal efficiency, and industrial symbiosis talks a lot to that. But I'm also walking away with a lot of recognition of companies working together with the community in a group is a good idea when you can do it. And because a project that factors in more stakeholders is going to, yes, of course, project development is a little bit more complicated, but when you can benefit multiple parties, it's more likely to stand the test of time and be truly beneficial to the entire community and not just generate profit. So I think it also makes it, and there's some things that become easier when it's a team effort, and that is the assignment of that's just one greedy person type of claim is a lot harder to do when it's a community benefits approach. So I just wanted to highlight that again. There is a meeting at the end of this month that I believe on Monday that I think Tony has been invited to go to. I also am going to try to attend that meeting on Monday. And I just wanted to mention that. And I think there'll be more report outs on the whole subject of what those opportunities are over the next year, 6 months. The person who's leading that is Adrienne from the Port of Bellingham. I had a very nice conversation with her. I'm really happy the Port of Bellingham is leading this effort. And I think it's going to hopefully generate some new economic development with this approach for our community over the years. And I'm hopeful of that. And we could use that. So that's.
Did you say Adrian? What was the name of the person at the port?
She works on renewables. Let me make sure I get her name correctly.
Yeah, and there's sustainability officer, right?
Yeah, Adrienne, Adrienne, Douglas Scott. And yeah, she's she's been leading sustainability, carbon, renewable type efforts at the port for many years. I'm really impressed by her dedication over several years to help start moving the needle for our community, and she's really happy. Of course, with PUD support over the years, and I'm excited about the next chapter of well-informed, well-planned industrial economic development. So,
Great.
Next topic I wanted to update you all on is Tony and I had a very nice visit to the not Nooksack, to the Lummi Nation last week. I believe that was Wednesday. And we met with the Natural Resources Department at the Lummi Nation. We met with their two deputy natural resources director. The director, Mel Jefferson, was on vacation. He's in the process of moving towards retirement. So, but he was very happy to see us come in and meet with his team. I very much appreciate also Tony's making time for that. You know, you got a lot on your plate, but I think this kind of direct connection and relationships for you will really help and support getting things done in the future. We had a impromptu casual coffee conversation with their lead on broadband, Kiale, before the meeting with Natural Resources. I think it was wonderful for you, Tony, to be able to ask her some tough questions and find out what her qualities and qualifications were. And then I think that Tony, you're going to have some follow-ups on your own account, but I wanted to help make that first meeting happen, and I was glad to do it.
Has Earl talked about retirement? Will Turtle be replacing him? Or are they not talking about?
That's up to council.
Yeah,
so-
and you brought up that he's looking towards retirement, though. Has he said that?
I mean, frankly, I'm very impressed with him, with Turtle, but I also respect their process. And yes, Merle has made that public. Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's moving towards retirement. He hasn't given any kind of dates and things like that, but yeah, it's really an impressive department. You know, when my first time meeting with with the Natural Resources Department at the Nooksack Tribe and the Lummi Nation was in 2019 and 2020, and it was just so impressive to me to recognize that, you know, back then, I don't remember how many were at Nooksack, but at Lummi there were 60 employees in the Natural Resources Department, and now they're up over 80. And it just made clear where their priorities are. And that was important. It's important information for us to understand, is that when you look at, you know, that many people, it really made it clear that where the priorities are. So so those are the main two updates. You all know that I'm traveling this week, and I'll be traveling for the first 2 weeks of September too. So as a result of that, I won't be able to attend in person. I want to make sure that staff, whatever they need from me in terms of physical signatures, well, that'll be difficult. But if I need to do something through DocuSign or something else or whatever, you know, I'm available. I will be available. I just need to know and coordinate that with staff if there's anything that needs signatures. Otherwise, we can just plan I can come into the PUD offices later in September and have a signing party. So I wanted to mention that. I think that covers the main updates I had. There's some things that I just that are quick items I'd like to cover briefly. um, oh yeah, I wanted to bring up this value of water campaign event tomorrow. That I don't know if anybody has time to attend or if we're already covering it. There's an event tomorrow being put on. Um, um, it's a webinar, and there's a big event in October, which is like having what it would be like to go without water for a significant period of time. I just wanted to mention it. I don't know if anybody has interest in that. I think you probably got the emails. Did you all get the emails? If you didn't, I can just forward it to Tony to forward it to you.
I think-
Can you refresh that? I think I saw that, but in the melee of my.
I'll forward it now. I'll just
Wow.
forward it. And,
Yeah, and if it's tomorrow, we have the Douglas line meeting. I'm sure nobody has
Yeah,
extra bandwidth, but that's good to know.
yeah, I'll just forward it, then you can do what you would like with it. There's one other thing I wanted to. No, I believe that covers all of my updates, and I apologize if I missed something. Any questions on any of that?
No? Enjoy your trip.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't taken a trip like this in a while, so several years. So excited to do it.
Good.
I'm
Well,
really here. It's very focused on policy. It's called Policy Link. Very positive. I guess I did want to already bring one thing home from the conference, and it's just we're going through some challenging times at our PUD, and we're taking care of our mission driven goals of facilities, equipment, infrastructure, and customers. I just encourage us all to remember to take care of ourselves and each other and our relationships with each other. I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation for the hard work of the entire team of staff at the PUD, and just knowing how important I feel like all of you are, and how valuable you are, and how much I wouldn't wish for anything different in our team. I think we have a great team, and I appreciate all the hard work that's happening.
thank you, Phil.
as do we all.
Not me. Just kidding.
Well, we will accept public comment for any who wish to provide. You may raise your hand using the function at the bottom of the screen on Zoom. If any members of the public wish to address the commission, we'll accept up to 3 minutes per speaker.
I'm dying to speak.
I'm gonna make a point is I think we should put like a slide up or something for public comment so that it's clear that the moment is happening for folks that, might have stepped away while we were going on about whatever we were talking about and then don't suddenly miss the window. I know how that goes sometimes. So, but just holding for a moment there, opportunity for public comment. Anybody? Noting customers, of course, who are attending and I'm sure with great interest following what we're doing, and we want to make sure that we're just as I'm sure our staff are in continual communication and coordination to best manage the planned outages and their impact on the customers, right? And so I take that you don't feel the need to address us means that everything is okay with the communication with staff. So I will close public comment, and we will move to adjourn this meeting.
I have one last thing I'd like to say.
Okay.
I just wanted to say also, you know, as a commissioner, you don't see the details of every day what's going on. But I also want to say one other thing I've seen is really exceptional team ball between you, Tony, and Annette, and Kurt, and Andrew, and who am I missing? Lisa, in the management team. And hey, let's give Peter some credit there too. I just want to say I've just seen really good team ball, nimbleness, adapting, and I think that it's, you know, even though from a little bit removed perspective, it's clear to me that that's happening, and so I wanted to recognize that as well.
Appreciate that, Commissioner. Uh, uh, there's some other honorable mentionables there too, right? Garrett,
Yes.
our plant operators and the chief operators. I mean, while all this craziness is going on, they all have to step up and kind of hold the fort down, right? Our electrical supervisor John has stepped in to help with this water project. So that means his two electricians have to kind of step up. And so I would have to say that everybody on the staff, right, has in some way had to contribute. And we're not there yet, right? Let's not pat each other on the back yet, but thanks for pointing that out. And it's true. And it's a reflection of every single individual on our staff, you know, does more than one job here because we're so small and everybody contributes. So thanks.
And I'd like you to see us as part of that team. Yeah, obviously in staying in our lane, but also recognizing that we're here to show up for you too, as I hope you feel like we're doing. So
I appreciate it.
Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for making, you know, I'm glad you're able to still fully participate today at Tool, being away at the conference. Hope that's fruitful. And yeah, we'll just be in communication with staff to make sure you got everything you need to zoom into our next meeting. Is that right? Will you also be virtual?
yes.
Okay. It's 11:27 a.m. We are adjourned.